All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And this morning it is active supervision for your first one. So we're gonna wake y'all up a little bit. And also to know that y'all been on here before, so make sure your video, your mic is muted unless you speak to us. And for some of those that's on a laptop or computer, you can hold down your space bar to speak, or you just unmute yourself to speak when we start talking with each other. Okay, I'm trying to get my stuff together. The goal is for you to be able to promote the most effective strategy to allow children to explore the environment safely indoors and outdoors. Your objectives are to describe what active direct supervision looks like, state program strategy for maintaining accountability through supervision, design outdoor environments to promote effective supervision, describe how supervision changes during rest time and during toileting, plan how to provide active direct supervision outdoors. So I have to ask, and I know it's up there, oops, sorry y'all. So what is supervision? Anybody want to tell me without looking at my screen?
Just actively keeping an eye and ears out for children, or well, anybody, even fellow staff.
Okay, keeping eyes out for children, fellow staff. Anybody else want to chime in?
Being present at all times.
Being present at all times, okay. Anybody else want to add to what supervision is? Okay, since we've gotten those definitions. So why is supervision important? Why do we have supervision?
To keep ourselves and the children safe.
To keep yourself and the children safe, okay. What else?
There you are, you're right up there. Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you and see you.
All right, thank you.
So Emily said to keep the teachers and the students safe. What else? Why, anybody else want to tell me why supervision is important?
Melissa says to prevent accidents.
I know it's early. Trust me. We got to wake up a little bit.
There's another one is to make
Melissa,
sure that all the children are not biting each other.
Who was speaking? I missed that because I barely heard them.
Elizabeth said to prevent them from biting, and Melissa said to prevent accidents.
Okay, all that. What else? Yeah, I know if y'all don't start talking to them, I'll go through my little list and start calling names when we start going on further. Miss Emily. No, you've told me. Miss Janet. Why you think supervision is important?
Well, that's our primary goal, is to take care of these children and make sure they have a safe environment so that they can learn things.
Everything that everybody said, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Can you guys hear Miss Diana's phone?
Huh? Okay. So our first priority is to keep the children that is in your care safe from harm, though it is not easy as it may sound, and we all work long enough to know that we got some that'll sneak off, that we can't catch everyone, but that is our goal, to make sure we keep them safe. So the younger the children are, the more dependent they are on the adults around them. So you must provide active indoor and outdoor supervision at all times. And a lot of teachers, they don't think of outdoor as part of active supervision because they are quote unquote running free. But we have to think outside as well because that's where a lot of accidents happen. Let me let Miss Diana back in. You in there, Miss Diana? You can hear me? So
She said that she's there. She's got two going. That way, in case somebody loses one, they got another one.
okay, you can hear on that one. Give me thumbs up, Diana. Okay, so supervision describes the way adults help protect children from injury or other harm. Supervision, an active process, it involves watching, listening, interacting, monitoring, and preventing problems. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, active and positive supervision involves knowing each child's abilities. If you know you have a toddler who just now started walking, you got to make sure you watch out for them and make sure there's nothing in their way when they go to walk around the classroom or outside on the playground. You got to make sure you establish clear and simple safety rules. You need to go over your rules every day with your kids so they can know. And also, at the beginning of the school year, let them help you make your rules for your classroom because they'll be able more better to understand them and to remember them if they help you make them. You got to be aware of and scanning for potential safety hazards. What does that mean?
You're supposed to check your environment to make sure that it's safe for the kids, like before you go outside and stuff, and make sure there's no spiders or ants or creepy crawlers.
Okay.
Snakes.
Or tigers or bears or mine.
Yes, make sure we're scanning, we're looking for anything, snakes, ants. You got to be careful of bees as well because when I was in the classroom, our playground had like, I don't know why, but under the playground, under the material, they had like bees. So you have to be aware of bees as well. So you got to be standing in a strategic position. What do we mean by standing in a strategic position?
Not standing and socializing with the other teachers.
You need to be able to see the kids at all times, and you need to
Not
keep
standing
moving because you need to be on the ready in case little Johnny decides that he's going to jump off the top of that tree that we got outside now.
Yes, we got to be ready and wait for everything. That not only applies outside, it applies in the classroom as well. You know how we like to get together and huddle and talk about something that done happened that morning, or you seen little Johnny doing something on the playground when you get back inside. So it applies inside as well. You just place yourselves on opposite end of the room so you can see one way, they can see the other way. So it applies in the classroom and outside. You gotta make sure you scanning play activities and circulating around the area. As Melissa was saying, don't huddle together, socialize, and walk around. As you know, right now, especially outside, and we're supposed to be on that 6 feet distance, social distance. So walk around outside. I know it gets hot, we get sweaty, that heat gets to us, but while we're outside, we need to be walking around, playing, interacting, and watching all at the same time. You got to focus on the positive rather than the negative to teach what is safe for the child and other children. What do we mean by that? No, Kaylee, Emily, give me a second.
If you,
Wait, did you say no, we can't answer?
Yes, because I need other people to talk to me too.
wait, did you call me Emily?
And that's Melissa, by the way.
Who I call her?
You said Emily.
She is an
Sorry.
overachiever, so I get it.
Emily, you want to answer this question for me since they're talking about you?
Repeat it for me. You kind of broke up the first time.
I'm sorry. I said we're talking about focus on the positive rather than the negative to teach what is safe for the child and other children. What do we mean by that? What do you think?
The more you harp on the negative actions that the child is doing outside, the more they put it in their brain. And so they're going to want to keep repeating, in my opinion, keep repeating the negative action. But if you influence them to do the positive action that you want them to do, then they'll start to in a sense, reprogram their brain to automatically choose the positive way to use something instead of the negative way to use something.
Exactly. We need to focus on tell them what they can do instead of telling them what they can't do. Like you were saying, they'll understand and remember it better. Okay, I can do this, I can do that. But if you keep telling them what they can't do, they're gonna do it just because you said don't do it. So let them know what they can do. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry about that, Melissa. So supervision is much more than watching. It involves all your skills as a teacher and caregiver. Supervision is your responsibility and commitment to the families who have trusted you with their children. It is also your responsibility and commitment to the children who rely on your guidance, nurture, protection, and support. You got to act to avoid problems before they occur. So you got to be proactive. You got to think. You know you got little Johnny, he real hyper, so you got to think, okay, do this need to be in Johnny's way when we go outside? Do I need to have this many blocks over here? Do I need to have such and such? You got to think. Little Johnny hyper. What we got to do to help little Johnny out. So that's all you got to do. You got to think proactive. You got to think ahead. So during conversation with your co-teacher, you got to discuss safety issues and make necessary adjustments. You got to be available to step in if necessary. You can supervise while playing with infants and toddlers to support their social development. It is possible. You can play and watch the other kids. How your environment is arranged can either help or hinder supervision. If there are areas that make being able to see more difficult, then it's important that you position yourself so that you can see what's going on at all times. Hazards in the environment can pop up at any time, so frequently scan the room for possible hazards and take necessary actions to prevent injury. So we're going to talk about keeping children safe and maintain accountability for children. So children move quickly, and it's uncommon for children to attach themselves to another group, slip out an open door, or hide during a transition. There are several important strategies to ensure that all children are accounted for at all times. And trust me, it does happen, and most time it is on the playground. You get ready to line up. Little Susie, you see her, you've counted her. By the time you get ready to walk in the door, you count again. Where is Susie? She done ran back with the other classroom because she felt like she was at the end. You tapped her head to count her. She felt like she was good to go, and she sneak off. So you got to make sure every time you going in, you line up, you going in, everywhere you got to count those kids to make sure nobody doubles back because they will. So we're talking about counting children, matching name to face. You do a roll call. So do y'all do roll call when you're coming in from outside or going outside?
No, but that seems like something that we should do. That might be fun and interactive for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they would like that because it would include, they'd feel included.
Instead of just quickly counting.
Yeah, and also they get to recognize their name instead of John being called John. He gonna know his name is Jonathan, and then also get the other kids to recognize the other children in their classroom instead of just pointing at him did it. You be like, who was him? Then maybe he can tell you that's Jonathan. So you might want to start that. You get ready to go outside, do a roll call, and y'all have only 8 kids in your classroom. That shouldn't be in no time taken away. Do a quick roll call. Huh? So yes, you got to count on a scheduled basis at every transition and leaving one area and arriving at another. You should count children approximately every 15 minutes. So what do we mean by that every transition?
Every time you go, from inside to outside, or maybe the air conditioner went out in one room, so you got to take them to another room, and, you got to count them when you're moving them from room to room.
Exactly. Not just when you're going from inside to outside the playground. Anytime you move from your classroom to any other place, you need to count. When you're going back to your classroom, you need to count your kids, because kids, they do get away from you. And you keep your eye on them at all times. There's a chance that one will slip away and dart off to another classroom, or they might still be in the bathroom. We never know. So every time you move, you count your kids. And make it a game. I let them help you count. They do 1, 2, 3, touch their head so you can know that they're there. Let them count with you, and start letting a line leader count. That way you get them count, they get to know their numbers, their row count. Okay. Be sure you can state the number of children in your care at all times. And I have a little solution that we had when I was in the classroom. We had got those little white, the white erase boards at the Dollar Tree, just like little square ones. You can put it on your wall, and when you do roll call, if you got all 8 of your kids, you put 8 on there. So that way, if Miss Diana need to come in and take over your class or need to know how many you have without interrupting you, she can look on that board and say, okay, they got all 8 of their kids today, so they're good. Or how many you got in there, and then you change your number every time somebody leaves. Like one leave early, make sure you change that from 8 to 7. And those work good in the classroom, help us keep up, and especially you have a sub or somebody that come in the middle of the day, you know, how many kids do you have? It's easy to look up there, like, okay, she got 8 kids, so you're gonna go count 1, 2, 3, make sure you got 8 in that classroom. So that was something that worked. Record the count on a attendance sheet or pocket card. Y'all do attendance every day, correct? Okay, so that's not an issue right there. And note any children who leave the group, like I was just saying, those who go with another adult to get the breakfast card, or those who are picked up early. Keep them in a note, those who are going to do a job by taking the cart back, if y'all allow that. But really pay attention to those who leave early. And also, if you have 7 at your regular time when you do attendance, you have 1 to come in, make sure you note that as well. Any questions so far about having accountability for children? Okay. So, who can tell me anything about ratios? Miss Elizabeth? Is she still with us? I can't hear you. You went out.
Okay, mute yours. Okay, now speak.
On ours. You can speak on ours.
All right, now talk.
I think a ratio means how many children you have in a classroom.
It has to do something how many children you have in the classroom, and what else?
That's all I can think
You
of.
got this. You got this. Don't overthink it.
No, I really don't know.
Okay.
She said she doesn't know anything
No.
else.
Oh, that's fine. We're here to learn. That's what we're here for. Anybody want to help her out? Miss Janet?
You just not gonna let me talk.
Guys, how many children to each teacher is your ratio?
How many children to each teacher? Yes, you was halfway there, Elizabeth, but it's how many children per teacher? You gotta know that a ratio applies at all time. Good ratio optimizes care and help children safe. Your program ratio must be maintained at all times, and you must be diligent about maintaining an appropriate staff to child ratio. And this is important for the children's well-being and for your own. And you have to refer back to your DHR minimum standards to get your ratio. Standard ratio applies indoors and outdoors. So don't think because you 2 classrooms out there that you can go and do whatever you want to do, take your break, go make a phone call, or just do whatever. Your ratio when you go outside still applies as it is on the inside in the classroom. And it should be just as more important because you got more children on the playground that all eyes need to be on. And you know that you never leave a classroom out of ratio. That is a big no-no. We all know that. So we got to maintain accountability for children at all times. You always got to know how many children are in your group. You should be able to say how many children. You got to regularly count name to face and counter every transition, as we were just talking about a while ago. So the whole thing about accountability is count, count, count. So we got some activities that we need to go through that I'm gonna show on the next slide and let y'all read them. And Emily, nope. Kaylee, I'm gonna let you have the first one. How about
Oh,
that?
now you're gonna let me talk. I see how it is.
Yeah.
Melissa gets no love. What is this?
All right, so this one I'm reading.
Yes.
You and Shayla work together in a preschool classroom. You are pregnant and experiencing morning sickness. You're not ready to tell anyone at work yet. This morning, you felt especially ill and had to run to the adult restroom during the morning meeting. There were 13 children in the classroom at the time.
So what's the issue here?
You left your classroom out of ratio.
Left your classroom out of ratio. And why? Could have been avoided?
Yeah, I mean, you should have told your director or somebody. That way you could have been like, I need some assistance. I got a situation. That's all you got to say. You ain't even got to say no more. You just got to call for help.
Exactly. It's like we just said a while ago, never leave your classroom out of ratio. There's always going to be somebody there that can help you. So call down the hallway, yell like, hey, I need to go somewhere. I need to go to the bathroom real quickly. It's an emergency. And they'll be more than willing to come in there. Just make sure that you try your best to keep that ratio in the classroom. Anybody else want to add to that before we go on to the next one? All right, Melissa, have at it.
Hold on, give me a second. Okay. You and 2 other adults are supervising 20 preschool children. During free play this morning, you turn to ask your co-teacher, Marsha, a question. You cannot find her in the classroom. Through the vision panels in the door, you see her in the hallway on her cell phone. Oh no. She did not say a word to you or the other adult before stepping out. Bye, Felicia. No, I'm just kidding.
So what's going on with this scenario?
She needs her priorities in check because no cell phone call is more important than the safety of those kids in that classroom.
Okay. So what should she have done to begin with?
Not had her phone in the classroom. Like,
She could have easily been like, hey, I need a moment.
yeah, to the director or something. You don't just answer the phone call.
Yes, so we know emergencies come up and she may have been expecting that phone call. We understand that. But at the same time, she still got to maintain the ratio, to maintain her job. So she should have said something to the teacher and got someone in there with you. So doing all this, what possibly could have happened before you turned around and realized she was gone?
Yeah, because if you were like changing a diaper or something and you were thinking there was another teacher in here, you're not going to be you're still going to be looking up at the rest of the kids, but not as much or not quite aware that you're the only teacher in there. So more accidents can happen. Little Johnny could hit little Susie, or you could be like some of my kids in the classroom and just twerk on the table. Anything like that can happen in that moment. So,
and also we have to be more vigilant about that. As you said, you're going to think because there's 2 of y'all in there, you're not going to pay as much attention because there's 2. But now we have to think about, okay, I'm in here by myself. Regardless, there's 2. You have to always think that, okay, let me look, because there's no telling where, and Kaylee, I'm going to use you since y'all sitting right there together. There's no telling where Kaylee's mind is, that she's there, she's looking, that's what you're thinking, she's paying attention, but at the same time, his mind is everywhere. I'm sure it happened, hadn't it, Kaylee?
Yeah. Squirrel.
But no, seriously, you have to think like that. You know, body's there, but my mind is not. It's like, she's looking, you probably looking at her, she probably just in there like, she's scanning the room, but at the same time, she's thinking, okay, what has happened here at home, or what has happened yesterday? Something
We
else.
all have off days.
So you always have to think to yourself, okay, I'm here. I got to pay more attention because there's no telling what my co-teacher's going through, and it's vice versa. Okay, if it was you, you got to make sure you understand that you got to pay attention because Melissa there, but not all the way there. So
Melissa derails a few times a day.
Okay, Miss Caitlin, you want to take that one for me?
Yeah. You are in charge of the evening care program at Anderson. Your shift usually begins at 6 p.m., but you are running a few minutes late this evening. I'll make it by 6:02, you tell yourself, so you don't call your supervisor. When you arrive, you see a small group of children playing on the playground, but you do not see an adult with them. That's dangerous. You immediately tell the front desk as you move towards the playground. Somehow the staff person covering the 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift, wow, left without telling anyone. She was alone with children and surveillance cameras were running. You cannot believe it. That's just all kinds of no. You do not leave until you have somebody to cover. Yeah. And first off, obviously, if you're going to be any amount of late, you need to tell your supervisor, whether it's a minute or 5 or whatever. I don't like this scenario. It makes me all kinds of mad.
These are scenarios that can possibly happen. You don't ever know what goes through people's mind. You got some people, I get off at 6 regardless of what happens. And
Right.
that anywhere you work, they say you get off at 6, it don't mean you're going to get off at 6 if your job is not complete, especially in child.
Right.
It say 6 o'clock, well, you job 4:30, 5 o'clock, but if you still got little Johnny still sitting there waiting on mama, guess what? You got to sit there and wait with Johnny to wait on his mama.
Exactly. You can't leave them alone. That's a great way for them to run off and get into something, get hurt. No.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, what's going on with this scenario besides you didn't call in, say you was going to be late, then your co-teacher left regardless, what else is going on?
I want to know why the people at the front desk didn't notice.
Thank you.
Okay, front desk wasn't paying no attention.
Yeah, what are they doing? Playing Candy Crush or something?
Unless she slipped out the back door, but yes, our front desk, they need to be aware as well. What else? One more thing I need y'all to touch on, see if y'all can catch it in this scenario.
The surveillance cameras?
No, those are things now. Everybody has cameras, so.
What about the fact that you tell the front desk and then you still go towards the classroom? Does the front desk get up and go find out what's going on, or I'm confused? I'm sorry.
What about she was alone?
Okay, it didn't say how many children were there. It said a small group, but it said that the teacher that worked the 10 to 6 shift was alone with the children. So, according to how many children, that might have also been a problem. There should have been somebody there with her, so that there would be somebody there until the next guy.
Exactly. Regardless of how many kids she had, we got to have 2 sets of eyes on our kids at all times. Whether you got 1 or 2 in your classroom that may be under ratio, but you follow your ratio, but at the same time with Headstart, you have to make sure you got 2 sets of eyes on that class, on your students, because let's say you just got little Johnny and little Susan in there. One of them go back and say, you hit them. Who word is it? That people going to listen to the kids before they listen to teachers majority of the time. Unless you got the cameras running, they can show it. But just because something be said and you're by yourself, you don't have anybody to say, okay, no, we were in there together. This did not happen. It's better to have 2 sets of eyes than 1, regardless of how many children you have. So yes, Miss Jan, that was it. She was left. She was alone. There should have been 2 teachers with her. Okay, but we know none of this is going to happen over there at Kids First. Okay, let's see. Who haven't I called? Miss Jan, you want to take that one, even though you spoke on the last one? If I can hear you.
You said me? Yeah. Dominic is a new co-teacher in your classroom. He's doing a nice job jumping into the classroom routine, but you have a few concerns. He seems to struggle with paperwork. You have to remind him several times to check children in on the attendance roster. Today his shift started before yours. When you arrive at work, none of the children in the classroom have been entered on the daily attendance roster. Well,
Okay, so what's going on here? Pick it apart. think I lost Miss Janet. She froze on my end. Anybody want to help her out? I think she's having a little difficulty. She's froze on my end, so she's talking to me. I can't hear her. I see her frozen.
I can barely hear you.
Okay. Anybody else want to take this one for? Melissa.
Sorry, she was very laggy and she's sitting right there. So like I didn't even like hear the whole thing. So I have to read
That's why I
it
know.
myself.
So she's froze on my end, so I know I can't.
Oh, so something that happens all the time here. I'm just joking.
So I would very, very nicely, and I would say, you know, my face says something different than what's going to come out of my mouth. So remember that.
You have to work on it.
That is a very vital thing to do, Mr. Dominic. So it's for the safety of the children and to make sure that we're covered. You have to do the attendance as the children are coming in. You have to, and health checks and wash their hands.
Okay, so you gonna put it all on Dominic?
But see, I would have already told Dominic all of this.
You know, you could be like, hey, I understand that the morning was a little bit crazy. Come on over here and do you understand how to do like if it's on the computer, do you understand how to enter, you know, on Child Plus, you know, the whatever I'm trying to say, the classroom, enter the children. You know what I'm trying to say. And if maybe he's struggling with it and maybe he doesn't want to come out and be like, man, I don't even know what I'm talking about today. Can you help me? You could be like, hey, let's go through this together.
So
to make sure that it gets
bad cop thing. I see what you're doing.
Also, what we can do is, like we was talking about the other one, she's from 10 to 6. She coming at 10, she leave at 6. Maybe you get there a little early to Dominic get in the routine. You don't necessarily have to do it for him, but you be there as a support that's made what he needs. Because we know everybody don't get into early childhood care as easily. So even though
you just gotta be supportive.
Huh? I didn't hear you.
I said you just got to be supportive of your co-teachers, and we all were new at one point.
Exactly.
And we all know we didn't catch on immediately when we first started.
Exactly. That's what we have to think. We got to put ourselves in those shoes. You've been here 10 years. He only been here 10 days. We have to weigh those options. Like I said, because he come in at 8, you schedule 8:30. Maybe you can get there a little early to help him. Not help. You don't have to jump in and do it for him, but be that support. Like he may need that. May look back at you like, am I doing it right? You just go to him like, yeah, you got this. He may need that because everybody else is busy busting around. And like I said, he's 6 days in. Like you said, he may not know what's going on. I already said the classroom's jumping. All right. So we're going to talk about supervising children inside. We have any questions or concerns so far? Okay. So good classroom design is the first step in effective supervision. You should design your classroom with low shelves, clear traffic patterns, and safe materials. You must also teach children the safety rules for the classroom, and your daily safety inspection should ensure that you have taken all preventive measures to keep children safe. So I know I've been in your classroom before, so you do have the low shelves. You're just gonna make sure we have those smaller kids that you check back there, because trust me, they can hide. I had a little boy, he might have been 3 or 4, he's about 4, but you wouldn't think he was 4 years old. He was able to fit off inside my kitchen. That's how small he was. He was able to fit off in the shelf in the kitchen, and we actually was looking for him. We knew he was in the classroom. We were like, where did he go? And just so happened, we heard him giggling. He was inside a kitchen shelf. That's how small he was, and the baby get in there. So you got to be building by things, even though your shelves are low where they're supposed to be at, and you can stand and look, okay, you can see your tall kid, you see your medium height child, but you got to be real mindful of those ones that are shorter and smaller than the other kids. So good teaching is good supervision. You got to join children in the areas. You got to observe the children. You got to have meaningful conversation. You sit and kneel at their eye level. You got to interact with children so you know their strengths and their needs. Yes, we tell you to watch them, stand back and make sure you count, but at the same time, you got to get in there. You got to interact with your kids in the area. If they're going into the block area, go over there and position yourself to where you're in the block area playing, but at the same time, you're still keeping an eye on the rest of the classroom. That's what we have to get in the habit of doing. You gotta know that children needs change all the time. Supervision must change too. You must think on your feet to keep your children safe. You sitting there watching and you see something about to happen, you gotta be able to get over there and hopefully prevent it before it happens. So supervision, doing play and learning. Doing play and learning, you should be able to easily see children at a glance in all parts of the room. Your noise level should be maintained that allow you to hear infants' cooes, sounds of distress, and the language of toddlers. You got to stay within easy reach of infants and toddlers, no more than an arm's length away. Some activities require closer supervision. Tummy time, sand or water play, or use of climbing equipment, for example, present greater injury if children are left unattended. So even when they're playing, because we're, like I keep saying, we're standing back, observing and watching, we got to get in there with them, especially like they were saying in the sandbox, because we know we turn our back sooner or later, somebody's going to have that sand in their mouth. So we got to make sure we pay that attention.
Guaranteed somebody's going to eat that sand as a snack.
Yes. They want to taste it. They want to see it. They got to get that extra nutrient in. So yeah, they're probably going to put in there. And also you got to pay attention to water play because we don't know where the hands being, so we don't want them to just keep drinking it because that have happened before. They want to drink the water out the water play. So you got to make sure you're a mouth and watching that as well. Even though you got an inch of water in that box, you still got to pay attention. So with your non-mobile infants, you got to make sure you sit close to them and protect them from the mobile infants and the toddlers. And I think in y'all classroom, y'all have that barrier that you can put them in, but still, because they have that barrier, you still need to pay attention, be close to them in case anything happens. So you gotta make sure you allow infants and toddlers to interact with their peers, to develop social skills, and your presence will not only protect infants, but it will facilitate socialization. So supervision doing routine care. What is routine care?
Changing diapers, cleaning up after lunch, stuff like that. The stuff that we do on a normal day-to-day basis instead of like random activities that we decide to try.
Just basic care. That's not what I was going to say, but that's what came out of my mouth. Okay, good.
So we see the routine care and something that goes every day and includes your meals and your snacks, your diaper and your toileting, the arrival and departure, your nap. They all require vigilant supervision. And why is that? Why do these supervisions need to be vigilant on these certain activities?
The children are safe as they leave.
Hold on.
You still
hold
part of
on.
my answer, Elizabeth.
Go ahead, Elizabeth. Say it from my computer because we can't hear you on yours.
Oh, my computer's messed up.
Okay, just say it.
Hold on.
All right, spit it out any day now.
To make sure that stop it, Melissa. I can't do this.
You're me. That's why I laugh because
Okay.
we're so much
To
alike.
make sure that all the children haven't noticed that they when they leave, so you're not worried and freaking out that where's the child? That's not what I'm trying to say.
Here.
I'm lost.
Woosah.
So it's okay. It's okay.
What was the
No,
question?
She made me laugh.
Oh, you're gonna put this all on me?
It's Alyssa's fault.
Listen, what was the question? So she could get her thought process back.
We was talking about routine care like meals, snacks, diaper and toileting, arrival and departure, and nap. Why do they require vigilant supervision?
Okay, Elizabeth, now say your answer.
For nap time is to make sure that all the children have are still sleeping.
Keeping them safe.
Yeah, keep them safe and not choking themselves or anything in their sleep or anything. Or for the departures to make sure that you know who has left and not freak out. Where's this person? And to know who is arriving too.
It's just keeping them safe during that time.
Yeah,
And
basically.
they're so young, they need help on how to learn how to properly do everything. So they need that supervision to teach them.
Yes, all of that. Yes, because it meals and snacks. Because you got some that is starting to eat on their own, so you gotta make sure you keep an eye on them that they don't choke or put too much
And
food.
make sure that they don't eat other people's food.
Yeah, make
Yes,
sure little Johnny don't steal little Susie's food every time.
exactly. We gotta make sure they eat their own food. And also with the diaper and toileting, especially when we're on the changing table, we got to make sure we keep a hand on that child while we're changing that way. So we won't have a roller that's rolling or a kicker that's having to be kicking so much that they'll be able to fall off. So we got to make sure we keep an eye on them. And like I said, we're arriving to park. You got to know who's there, who's leaving. So you want to leave nobody behind. And nap, like she was saying, make sure they're sleeping. Make sure they're still breathing. I know that sounds a little extreme, but that's what you have to keep an eye on. Make sure. So we got to make sure bottle-fed infants and older infants should be held, or if the child is able to hold their bottle, they need to be seated. Infant toddlers should always be seated while eating and drinking. Choking and injury risk is greater when children are on the move. And we already know that we don't eat and run, we don't eat and walk. We want to make sure they're sitting at their table and they're eating their food while they're sitting down. And you also need to be within the arm's reach of children who are eating and maintain visual supervision. Choking is a silent accident. So we got to make sure we check on those, make sure their food is cut up and they're not stuffing their mouths. How about arrival and departure? It's the transfer of care to and from the home. Greeting each family member and child upon arrival is a conscious and visible strategy to say, I am aware and happy that you are here. So we know we have some parents that are be in a hurry a lot. They're running late, they got something to do or something. They come in, they sign, they push their child on in, and sometimes you don't notice that child coming. So when you know it's about time for kids to start arriving, somebody need to be paying attention to that door so you can speak to your parents, acknowledge them so that you can acknowledge that you see Johnny coming into the classroom. You gotta make sure you know, because you don't see Johnny coming and you wonder like, where did he come from? He's already been there 5 or 10 minutes, but because you wasn't paying attention to that door, you didn't know, you kept your eye over here that the 4 that you did have, that you knew. You gotta make sure you pay attention to that. And also when they leave, you're more vigilant about when they leave than when they come in. So make sure they're dry, they're ready to leave when it's time to come get them. And again, you acknowledge that they're leaving, tell them goodbye, have a good afternoon. Make sure that when the parents sign them in, that they sign them in with their full name and they sign them out with their full name as well. So they have to sign them in and sign them out. So we talked about diaper and toileting earlier. I was telling you, when especially on the changing table, make sure you have a hand on that baby at all times when you're changing. Because like I said, we have rollers, we have some that kicks that makes them move. Even though we think they're just a baby, they're not moving yet. But kids do surprise us, so we got to make sure we're paying attention to that. And in nap time. So active supervision during nap is critical. Infants should be directly observed by sight and sound at all times. I know you play music during nap time, but your music shouldn't be so loud that you drown out the sound in the classroom. It should be loud enough just to give them a soothing sound to go to sleep with. So this includes when they're going to sleep and waking up. Especially if you have those babies in the crib, you need to pay attention to when they're waking up and seeing what's going on with them. So you gotta make sure you see their face, you gotta view the color of their skin, and to check on their breathing. Infant must always be placed on their backs for sleeping. So remember the back to sleep campaign. You put them on their back to go to sleep. If they roll over, that's fine. So on their crib, need baby, say Johnny can roll over by himself. That way, if the state was to come in and see that they were not on their back, they would know why. So you gotta make sure you take each child individual need into consideration. A child with mobility issues or special health concern is napping in the room. Additional adults should be on call, and always consider the number of adults who will be required to help evacuate the children in the event of emergencies. So ratios need to be kept during nap time as well. If this video will play, it will. And y'all give me a thumbs up if you can hear it and see it. Can y'all see the video?
Watch as Christy uses active supervision strategies. She notices a problem and uses positive guidance techniques to help the children know what to do.
Spread them out. Well, him and me are right. Okay, I will be right back. I need to go have a talk with the girls. Okay. Cool. No, we got it. Come here. Girl meeting. I was walking. Girl meeting. Where do we play tag at? Outside. Outside. Are we outside? No. And what kind of feet do we use inside the classroom? Walking. And what were my eyes seeing you guys do? We're just playing hide and seek. Running. How about Is that safe? No. Okay. So can we try it again and maybe go to dramatic play and walk over there? Okay, let's go try it. Aaron was running. I was tippy toe. Okay, well, tippy toe. All right.
Y'all know how she handled that. She didn't get very upset. She talked with them and she actually told them what they should be doing instead of what they shouldn't. So that's how you should handle your situation in your classroom and to be vigilant. Okay, we're gonna talk about supervision during transitions. Transition infant toddlers from indoors to outdoors and back indoors involves precise accounting. There are so many opportunities, especially for toddlers, to get separated from the group during transition. It's like we were talking about earlier, especially when you're coming in from outside, if you have at least 2 other classrooms on the playground. You'll have that one at the end or somewhere close to the end. They're always going to run back and finish playing. So when you line them up on the playground, make sure you count. And like I said, a good thing is to do, tap them on the head as you go, so that way you can physically know that that child is there as well. And then when you're going through the door, you need to count them. So make sure you leave with, you counted 8 to begin with, make sure 8 goes in the door. So like I said, supervision and accountability is all about count, count, count. Whenever you are moving, count your kids. And make sure you're in the classroom together. Be like, hey, we got 8 kids today, or 7, how many you got? Make sure you communicate with your co-teacher. And make sure both of you are counting. You count 8, she counts 7. So somewhere along the way, we need to find out where the other child is at, or who miscounted. So I always got to talk with each other. So supervising active learners, infant toddlers, they are active. They use all of their senses to make sense of the world around them. They want to see, touch, smell, taste it all to learn everything they can. Objects that children can come in contact with outdoors are very different from what they find indoors, because we're more vigilant about having safe things on the inside, and there's no telling what they can find on outside that we have missed. So you gotta understand that toddlers and mobile infants learn through oral exploration and don't yet know what is not to be mild. Careful observation will help you know which children need to be supervised more closely. So we'll talk about supervising outdoor. Because outdoor play is active, children usually need more supervision outdoors. Adult-child ratio must be followed. You should also be able to contact another adult for help if needed without leaving the children. That's what we was talking about earlier. A lot of teachers don't think of being actively supervised. Don't think about supervision on the playground because they think they're just free and they're out. But a lot of accidents happen on the playground, so you got to make sure, especially on those slides, the swings, because when they're swinging, somebody will walk behind in front of the child that's swinging, and then they'll go an accident. So playground design is an important part of supervision. The playground equipment should be organized so adults can see all children at all times. And if you stand in a spot and you can't see majority of your playground and your kids, you need to kind of position yourself for where you can. And as we was talking about earlier, there's no sense in huddling together talking about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen later on today. We need to be able to spread apart. It's hot. And if you have shade on the playground, yes, every teacher is going to try to get that shade, because I was one of those teachers that went for the shade. So what we had started doing was we rotated. So that way I won't be up on the shade tree the whole time. So like after 5 or 10 minutes, everybody got some of that shade tree. So that'll be something you want to think about if you think one person is hoarding the shade, is rotate on the playground, in which everybody should be walking around anyway, trying to make sure they get all parts of that playground seen about. We kept saying adults should stand strategically so they can supervise all areas. This means adults will not stand or sit together on the playground. Adults should spread out, watching, listening, and interacting with the children. You got to be wary of having long discussion or intense play with a child or a small group of children while supervising a zone. It's okay to have that tea party with little Susie, but while you're having that tea party, don't get so engaged with her that you forget about the other 7, 15 kids that's on the playground. So while you're having that tea with her, be having that tea, but at the same time, you're looking around and seeing what everybody else is doing. Each child is different. Some require more supervision and some require less. That's when we got to know our kids and what's going on with them. Each area on the playground, each type of activity requires a different level of supervision. So supervision must vary according to the needs of each child, the experience, and the activity. So never depend on toddlers to keep themselves safe or to follow the safety rules. Outdoor supervision requires you to continuously scan and move through the environment. Having supervision zones is an effective way to ensure that the entire environment is covered. If you notice that there are a lot of accident happens on the slide, then somebody need to be there at the slides, making sure that they can go up and come down safely. Supervision involves interaction. Somebody tell me what that means.
You need to ask those open-ended conversations. Blah, blah. You need to ask those open-ended conversations to the kids and just be interacting and conversating with them while you're still watching them, and that way they're still learning.
And tuning in.
Tune. That Cox campus tuning in. Yes, Emily, you have something to say. I see you unmuted yourself.
I was going to say the same thing that Kaylee was saying.
Okay. Yes, you got to interact. Supervision don't mean just stand there and watch. You got to interact. You got to see what's going on. Who knows? Like I said, they are active. They're going to learn. They're going to run. Yes, ma'am.
And I mean, just from all the trainings that we do, and this is repeated, I guarantee 2,000 times already, that's why it sticks with me. Children learn better when they're safe and when we're on their level, interacting with them and playing with them. Even though they don't realize that we're just like making sure they stay safe, they think we're just like a big kid playing with them. But in reality,
we are.
Melissa is. In reality, we, by interaction with them, have become their safe place.
Exactly.
And still being professional and in the being a supervisor to, all the children.
Mm-hmm. And we always have to make sure. Why do you always want to?
I'm sorry, I'm not used to someone being on my computer.
That lone child that likes to just play by themselves. I know we all have kind of a few in our class. Someone's always got to like tune in with that kid to make sure that that kid's being engaged and not just walking around by themselves in their own little thoughts.
Exactly, because we don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened that morning before they got to school. So yes, we need to tune into those loners as well. And yeah, when a child feels safe, they're going to want to explore more. They're going to feel safely to do that. They're going to be able to run around and give you a flower, pick up something. You'd be like, what is that? But they feel safe with you to do that. Any other comments? Okay. Got another video about interacting. Let's see. Yep, supervisors for safety.
Young children are natural risk takers. It's our job to help them balance challenges and safety. Watch as Nikki helps children through what could be an unsafe situation.
When you're coming down that hill, you gotta go slow down that hill so you don't get announced. And if you're going too fast, look at Miss Nikki. Go straight into the sand. Okay? Go into the sand. Yeah. So where are you gonna go if you're going too fast? Into the sand, right? Okay.
Nikki did 3 important things here. First, she used her active supervision skills to recognize a possible risk. Second, she took action by letting the boys know she was concerned they might get hurt. She gave them another safe option.
Go straight into the sand.
Finally,
Okay.
she checked in to make sure the boys understood.
That's what we were talking about earlier. Making sure we give them options of what they can do instead of what they can't do. She never did tell them, don't come around that sidewalk speeding before you flip over. She explained to them why they can, and she explained to them what they can do. Go around slowly. If they see they're going too fast, go into the sandbox. That's what we have to do. We have to change our mindset of saying, no, you can't, and to where, yes, this is what you can do. So we need to get in that mindset now. So that's what we need to do. And we're all guilty. I was guilty of it when I was in the classroom. Still guilty of it now, but it's a mindset thing that we have to change ourselves. Okay, so supervision is not a solitary task. It takes both of you in the classroom, everybody in the center. We see one straying away, even though that's not our child, we need to make sure they get back to their classroom. It happens. You will have one out in your class. Hope it don't ever happen, but it have happened. Not in your classroom, you see it going astray, you need to bring it back. Bring the child back, put them in their correct classroom. You supervise best while interacting with your infants and toddlers. You and the infant and toddler will be talking, singing, giggling, making discoveries, having quiet time, sharing a book, exploring toys and materials, sharing one-on-one time, and engaging with peers. Because of your supervision, infant and toddlers are free to learn about themselves, their environment, and the people around them, which promotes a holistic approach to development. So we gotta make sure we stay on our supervision. And what we gotta do, so most thing about accountability when you're leaving one area for another.
Count, count, count.
Count, count, count. As long as you count, and make sure they stay safe. You leave with 8, you got to come back with 8 unless somebody have come and got them. And if you got 7 out your 8, you need to be looking for that 8th one, figuring out what's going on, where they're at. So do we have any questions, comments about active supervision? Okay.